Hi friends, welcome to my channel. So let's have a look at problem 1162, as far from land as possible. So in this video, we're going to share a solution based on breadth-first search, so which we feel is very natural and intuitive for this problem. So here the problem asks us to find a water cell such that its distance to the nearest land cell is maximized, and return the distance. So if no land or water exists in the grid, we're going to return -1. So here the distance used is the Manhattan distance. So in mathematics, actually this is the so-called L1 distance. So there are two examples given. So in the first example, the output is 2. The corresponding cell is at position 1, 1. And in example 2, so the output is 4. The corresponding cell is at 2, 2. So let's look at the constraints on this problem, or I would say the assumptions. So the grid here actually is a square grid. So the rows and the columns are actually equal. So this n, the length or the number of columns or rows, is bounded in between 1 and 100. And the grid is a binary grid, so either 0 or 1. So with that said, let's look at the method here we're going to share. The method we're going to share is breadth-first search. Compare with depth-first search, we know that the breadth-first search can used to find the shortest distance, right, or shortest path. So here, what's the speciality for this problem here? That in this problem here, actually, when we do the traversal, we are facing a situation of multi-sources. So in other words, the sources are the land cells. So there can be many land cells in the grid. So with that pointed out, so let's look at the procedure. So when we do the breadth-first search, so we can add this tuple information to the queue for initialization. So here RC is the coordinates or position. The distance is the distance of this cell to the nearest land. So we use all the land cells for the initialization of the queue. So in the initialization for each land cell itself, so this distance is 0. So this is the first atom here. And the second atom is that if a non-visited water cell, let's call it XY, is next to its nearest neighbor land cell or visited water cell with information like RC distance, then we shall include XY as the distance is dist plus 1 for this non-visited water cell. So here let's make a remark. Actually, it's due to the distance we use. Actually, we can do this. So here, the distance we use, or specified in the problem, is the so-called Manhattan distance. So the Manhattan distance is nothing but the L1 distance in mathematics. So actually, here is some convention in mathematics. So lowercase L1 is for discrete case norm, or induced distance. So and the uppercase L1 actually is for general measure. So for example, continuous case is corresponding to integral. So in general, there are LP and small LP and large LP norms for P greater or equal than 1, less or equal to infinity. So here another thought may be that, so when we meet such problems, so the shortest so here let me write shortest. The shortest path algorithm shall flash in our mind, or we could consider using DP. So actually there are some solutions using DP for this problem. So here we shall content ourselves with the natural and intuitive breadth-first search solution. So the presentation actually is very easy. So with that said, let's look at the code. So I'm going to split the code into two parts. The first part is initialization. So and the second part will be the traversal. First, I'm going to get some meta information like the m and n. So in this problem, as specified in the problem, so the here, so the number of rows and number of columns are the same. So I'm going to use n, let's see, equals length of grid. That will be sufficient. And then I'm going to initialize the queue first. Let's call maybe from collections. So we import the deck data structure or container. So we are going to use this deck as a queue in this problem. So queue is deck. This is the empty one. So here I'm going to count the number of lines. So for I in range n, and for j in range n. So we're going to look at if grid ij is 1. So if it's 1, it means it's land cell. So we're going to include this to the queue. So notice that the information we're going to store is the position and distance. So we're going to include this guy with the following information: I, G, and the distance will be 0. And we are going to count the inlines by increment 1. So with this done, then we're going to first do a special case check. So if n lines is 0 or n times n square, so let's say in 0 or n square, then actually we're going to return -1 according to the problem requirement. So this is step 1, and step 2 is the traversal. So we want to prepare the return. So we're going to introduce a result variable. I'm going to set its initial value to be -1. So because of the assumption in the problem here for the return format. So we're going to initialize a visited site to monitor the traversal process. And then we're going to do the while loop while the queue is not empty. First, we're going to get the RC and distance information. So queue pop left. And then if RC not in visited, then we're going to first update the result. That's maximum result, and this D, right? And then we are also going to add this to visited. So the visited will store the coordinates as a tuple, because tuple is hashable or immutable. So then we're going to look at the neighbors. So for x, y in r-1c, r plus 1c, and r c minus 1, r c plus 1. Then first we are going to check if the new coordinate x, y is in range, and 0 less or equal than y less than m. So if this is the case, add grid x, y equals 0. Then we are going to include this. So we're going to add x, y, add the distance plus 1, as we specified above in the analysis, like here. So that's about it. So let's so here is, let's just delete that. So then we are ready to return the result. So we're going to return the state of the result variable. So that's a solution format for this problem using breadth first search. So let's do a special case check first. Yeah, it passes a special case. Now let's look at the generic case. Yeah, it passes the generic case. So for this problem, I guess you can try to write different solution formats. So here we feel that this breadth first search method is very natural and intuitive for people to digest. So we present this format of solution here. With that said, I guess it's about it for this video. Thank you so much.